Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of The Half of It. Half of It is a Netflix romantic comedy that follows the story of Ellie Chu, who is writing love letters for a jock and his pursuits to woo over one of the most beautiful girls in the class, all while harboring her own secret that she, in fact, is also in love with the prettiest girl in class. So I went into this film basically blind, but knowing it was a teen romantic comedy type of film that had a strong LGBTQ plus themes running throughout. Plus, it is written and directed by Alice Wu, who herself is an openly lesbian writer and director of Asian descent, which of course Ellie Chu is a Chinese American student here in the film and our main protagonist. A lot of representation in this film, and a lot of representation we don't necessarily get to see authentically brought to the screen when it comes to major motion pictures. So I was really hopeful, I was really excited. I enjoy most LGBTQ coming of age stories, so I went in expecting to love this film and hoping it would be great. Unfortunately, I didn't really like it. Yep, those Netflix romances. Whew. But let's go ahead and kick off with the positives. Well, I will kick off with the positives that I enjoyed the representation on display here. Having a lesbian of color as our main character is wonderful, and I want to see a lot more of that. And then having a gay woman of color as the writer and director, top-notch stuff. And I think there was a lot of potential in the film. I particularly think the beginning and how it opened was really artistic and beautifully done. There were a lot of directorial choices that worked, although there were a lot that just didn't work, and there was a lot in that script that didn't work. But the potential is there. So I hope maybe that Alice Wu can get more work moving forward. Hopefully improve on both of those crafts as she gets the opportunity to really shine. I really enjoyed Ellie Chu, our main character, as well, being somewhat of a closeted introvert that is the smart girl and doesn't really know about love. I could relate to her in a lot of ways. I thought that Leah Lewis did a really nice job of bringing her to life. My favorite character, though, was the teacher. And I don't think the film knew that she was the most interesting part of this whole film. But whenever we got like little glimpses of her, that first interaction with that teacher was amazing. And I wish we spent more time with her and got to get that like student teacher experience, because I think it would have been great. I also really enjoy a lot of the thematics behind the film, even if I don't think they worked the best in actual execution. Mostly, I really enjoyed this idea of love with friendship and how that manifests itself, and how, in many ways, you treat the love of a friendship in very similar ways to typical romantic love. And the dynamic between our two leads worked well, and their friendship and their growing bond made sense and felt authentic. However, that's where my positives end and we get into the negatives. First of all, I think the story is just both drawn out and yet not long enough. Everything about this felt really episodic. It felt really made for TV movie to me. From the cinematography to the music, the score used here was like, oh, what is this hokey score? But then down to the end, being so rushed with random little escapades throughout the middle, feeling so drawn out, like they could have just been side plots in an episodic nature television series on Netflix. And really, the script fails in its premise, mostly across the board. I was reminded a lot of the like going on a date with someone for a dare or to prove you can do it, something like The Duff or She's All That with Freddie Prinze Jr. Movies in which, the hot person gets dared, goes out with the ugly duckling, kind of makes them up or whatever, and then, oops, they find out I just dated you on a dare, but now I love you type of thing. It's not that scenario, but it plays out in similar aspects, except this one just didn't work because it was way creepier. They do some really uncomfortable stuff, a lot of really weird spying. It's not just like normal, find out what kind of roses she likes or find out her favorite chocolates. They're like watching her through her window in her house, and I was just like, this is creepy, this is weird, and I'm not on board with this at all. Not to mention, none of the romance actually worked for me. Paul, our main male character, was a little too dumb. A little bit too like type of a character, and then he takes this really weird turn in the film, and then does a really quick 180 turn again, like 10 minutes later, and his character just doesn't get proper development. His friendship with Ellie does get development, and their kind of bond together works. But he as a character just kind of stays stagnant. He grows slightly, but then they just do these huge, almost heel turns back to back in the third act of this film that just like make your head spin. And then we kind of confront the whole religion and queer identities and how that works in a small town. It just glazed right over, honestly, and we don't really talk about it. The very end between Ellie and our pretty girl in the school, I hated. I hated it. I thought it was so terrible. There's not laughs. I didn't really find this film to be funny at all. Again, the romances just don't work. So, as a romantic comedy, if you're not laughing and the romance isn't selling it for you, then what are we doing here? It's just weird stuff. Like, what school has a talent show required for seniors? It made no sense. And honestly, that whole talent show thing was ridiculous. And it was meant to be this big moment for Ellie and her character development, but it just rang completely hollow. Overall, the half of it has some promising starts and has the bare bones of a good story, but just really fails to fill anything in after that. The script lets down all of the rest of the material. I was left feeling quite hollow through most of the story, and then actually getting quite annoyed through that third act as it just really starts to unravel. So, if you have Netflix and you are a fan of LGBTQ romances, I would say go ahead and just give it a watch to make up your mind for yourself, but lower your expectations and give yourself the possibility to be pleasantly surprised rather than unfortunately disappointed. So that is my review of the half of it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see the half of it, or have you already watched it? If you have, let me know your thoughts either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!